I know it's been such a long time since I last discussed Life is Strange. Obviously there wasn't much going on for some time now, quite some time now. When I found out that this game is releasing, the game that we are about to talk about right now in this video, I figured I wouldn't be really covering that. I wasn't really sure if I should keep my hopes up because there were some games in between here and there that didn't quite live up to my expectations. I think it is time. From what I've seen so far, I am totally sold because of certain reasons, certain aspects of the story that they're going to focus on. And I want to discuss all of that today. So let's briefly have a look at the trailers. There's a review trailer and one trailer, lo-fi kind of a style, that's been released about 2 weeks ago. I think it's also hard to discuss this game without the context. There's a lot of context. I think this video wouldn't really cover it time-wise because it's sort of complicated. We've all been major fans of the Life is Strange game. Obviously, the first one, the original one, has been amazing. It's a classic at this point, and no other game lived up to it, at least in my opinion, in the opinion of many fans, I think. There wasn't really any other Life is Strange game that did reach that level, despite the fact that I loved some other games as well, and some other games were not really even part of the franchise, but they were sort of circling around it. We had Life is Strange developed by Dontnod, then we had Life is Strange Before the Storm, so a prequel developed by Deck9. Square Enix sort of allowed Deck9 to work on it. Now, Deck9 is an American company, so while I loved it, it differed from the level that French studio presented, so Dontnod. Then we also had Life is Strange 2, which was the proper sequel to Life is Strange, set in the same universe as we know because some characters did show up again. Again, a game had many issues. Now, I want to say that I respect everyone who actually enjoyed it. I know that many people loved Sean and Daniel's story, but to me, I discussed that many times. There were certain issues in that story, certain aspects that I think they did not quite consider. That's why, despite the fact that I loved some parts of it, some episodes, it wasn't quite there. Like, it didn't really quite hit the right spot, the same vibe that Life is Strange did. No other game did. Dontnod develop Tell Me Why, which was a great game too, however also with certain issues. It did present the first trans protagonist, so that was amazing and major props for that, but Dontnod doesn't shy away from difficult topics and less obvious protagonists, so there's been always something that we appreciated about them. Obviously, we have to mention that in the meantime, Square Enix, who owns Life is Strange franchise, they passed it on to Deck9. Deck9 created a new story, Alex's story, which was called True Colors, under the Life is Strange name. I loved the game, but again, it just didn't really hit the right spot, the same one as Life is Strange did. I know it doesn't feel right to always compare any other game that followed to Life is Strange. However, given the fact how classic it was, how important of a title it was to many of us, how my entire channel started because of that game, I do feel like the comparisons are somewhat justified, or at the very least, it is justified to expect a game that's on the same level. But we haven't received one in many years. Now, I have to say that my hopes are up again. I think we might get something special. That's why I decided to actually step in and cover the topic while we get closer to it. In the meantime, we know that Arcane Season 2 will be out, so I will be covering two major things by the end of 2024 because this game, Lost Records Bloom and Rage, it's going to be released by the end of this year. Now, why it's special? Dontnod seem to be a bit lost after it's lost the Life is Strange franchise. Tell Me Why did not go under that name, and they couldn't really continue Max and Chloe's story, even if they wanted to, because we know that there are ways. People discuss that. There's even rumors that Deck9 is working on another Life is Strange game. They were working on a AAA story-driven title because they've been hiring people, and it seems like, also logically speaking, that they will create another Life is Strange game. Maybe one including Alex and Steph. Maybe one day they will want to continue Max and Chloe's story. However, I don't think I would want for Deck9 to do that. I would prefer to either leave it to Dontnod or not do it at all. The story itself was also continued in the comic books. Comic books were great. I highly recommend them, but whether they're canon or not, that's up for discussion. Now, Dontnod. What happened to Dontnod after it has lost Life is Strange franchise? Part of the studio moved to Canada. I think right now they're set in Montreal. They had time, a proper time and proper resources to actually work on a new game that seems to be finally a spiritual successor to Life is Strange, to the original game. They changed many things that I think weren't exactly the right decisions in Life is Strange 2. We're back to small town setting. We're back to a female protagonist, though obviously Sean was fine as a protagonist. But personally speaking, I prefer to play a female protagonist, and that's what happens in the game. We are back to a mystery sort of a story, like the first game, but also they are going to hit the nostalgia vibe because they're going to present the story in two simultaneous timelines, one in 2022 and one in the summer of 1995. We're going to meet 4 girls, our protagonist Swan and her 3 best friends. I think that summer they actually meet, they get together, they develop some relationships. Since originally the developers come from France, so they hired Nina Freeman, who is a specialist on American culture. So she makes sure that the events presented in 1995 and the entire context, like location, music, clothes, as well as in 2022, are actually true to what America looked like back then and what it looked like in 2022. Nina Freeman is also famous for being included within games that focus on themes of sexuality and self-reflections. Every single Life is Strange game had some sort of a queer topic going on, and I'm more than certain that within Lost Records you will also be able to maybe develop some sort of a romance path that's, gay. I know that many people often complained and some did not want Life is Strange to be a game that's focused on, lesbians or that type of a thing. However, I think it's such a crucial aspect of it, and in many ways that aspect is something that has actually drawn players to the game. I don't think Dontnod is going to give that up, and they're going to properly develop it. Obviously, the fact that they've hired Nina Freeman speaks for itself. Another aspect that's fantastic when it comes to Lost Records Bloom and Rage, the fact that they're going to portray 2 timelines hits a very strong 90s nostalgia vibe. Our character Swan will have a camcorder, so she's going to record on videotapes. There's a proper aspect ratio in the trailers, 3:4, not the panorama one that we are used to today. And I have to say, it very much reminds me of Stephen King stories or X-Files or Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks, the mother of all the mystery shows, was also compared to the first Life is Strange game. Now within this game, a lot of stuff that we see on the screen reminds me of X-Files episodes. Now to those of you who don't know, X-Files is such a classic, one of the best shows that came to be in the 90s. A lot of mystery, supernatural phenomenon, and it seems like based on the trailers that we're going to see that in the game as well. Something happens in 1995 that leads to some events. The girls separate after that and they meet 27 years later. They say that they made a promise and I think they have to go back, which very much reminds me of It. You know, the Stephen King clown story? The same thing happened there. Both in the book and in the movie there were 2 timelines, as adults and as kids. I don't believe that there wasn't some kind of an inspiration there. The adults in It book and story, they also decided to come back. The whole thing also reminds me of Stand By Me, another story by Stephen King. It's all about nostalgia, it's all about small town setting. The colors of the game seem lovely, remind me of the first Life is Strange game. It all leads to a conclusion that whatever mistakes they made along the way, whatever was not really done in the right way, they learned from that. And I think they had time to actually find new inspirations. That's why my hopes for this game are very high. But now again, I wanna point out that for any artist, I think it's difficult to be always tied to one title. And for Dontnod, it's always Life is Strange. Anything they made, it's always been compared to Life is Strange. I've been doing that myself for the reasons I mentioned before. However, it's not really a bad thing because they created something that was a masterpiece to many of us. A game that played a crucial role in many of our lives. And for us to expect something similar from them, it's only natural. I think they want to create something similar as well, and I think if it wasn't for the fact that they lost the franchise, that they no longer can use the Life is Strange title, this game would for sure be titled Life is Strange. However, it's something new and I'm on board. It's called Lost Records, and I think they mentioned that this opens up a path to a wider universe. So if we finish that story, then it's possible that we will see a new game under the franchise Lost Records, but with a new name and new protagonist. protagonist. Now in this one, it's going to be narration focused again, story focused, choices driven. The choices that we make within the adulthood or within the childhood, they will shape one another. There's also a camera recorder use, like Max was using the camera. The protagonists are young adults, but also proper adults, so there's something for everyone, which I appreciate a lot. The same names that worked on Life is Strange are involved. We have Michel Koch again, Luc Baudast. It's literally the same people that worked on the first game. I think considering the fact that they had a breath of fresh air and they moved, they could find new inspirations within American culture. I actually love visiting United States and like browsing through it. Such an interesting country. So I'm very much looking forward to meeting our protagonists Swan, but also her friends Kat, Autumn and Nora. Let me know your thoughts. Are you actually excited about this game? Do you still have hopes for Dontnod to make another title like Life is Strange? And overall, I'm curious about your thoughts. Now, I'll be covering it as we go. Obviously, there'll be a trailer here and there. I'm very happy to be discussing that. Yeah, some months left. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And see you around, guys. Stay safe. This was Ola from Stop Me All channel. Bye.